Good evening and welcome to Kunsampai Chilling. We're thrilled tonight to be showing you part 2 of Jetsunma's teaching on heart commitments, often called Samaya in the Buddhist tradition. And this is the second half of the teaching that she gave back in 1997. So we hope you enjoy it, and here we go.
The entire Dharma community, then, is the Lama's extended body or wheel of Dharma activity. So the mystical bond between the Lama and the student is more close than one's own breath, more essential than one's own essence, more relevant than one's own mind, speech, body, anything. Here, as the Lama's body, the students also have, the Sangha also has a certain responsibility to one another. And this responsibility is part of the Samaya or commitment to the Lama, and it's a very important part. Remember, there is the responsibility to uphold and propagate the Buddhist teachings, to follow and learn more about Dharma, and now there is the responsibility to uphold and protect the Sangha, as well as the Sangha having the responsibility to be the extension of the Lama's activity. The way that that works is this. The Sangha is one body. If you think about human bodies, and this is a very good analogy, if one part of the body goes sour, if there is some negative consciousness rattling around somewhere, and doctors know even nowadays that there is some connection, the body will develop like a cancer. And so the whole body then is sickened, even if one part of the body has become disorganized. So the Sangha's responsibility to one another is virtuous conduct. By virtuous conduct, I mean that in the Sangha there should never, ever be gossip and slander. Never. I cannot say this strongly enough. If there will ever be a time that the Buddhist teachings are destroyed, it will be from the inside. Because there's nothing in this earth other than Buddhist practitioners that have that power. If the Buddhist teachings and their purity are ever destroyed, it will be by Dharma practitioners committing non-virtuous acts. Gossip and slander that is harmful and disruptive to the Dharma community is a heinous crime. Because we are taking something that is like a beautiful, virtuous, supreme and exalted body, not an ordinary body, but a body that leads to liberation, a body that walks to liberation, a body whose sole purpose it is to bring about the liberation of all sentient beings. This is purity itself. This is truth itself. If instead of upholding that truth by keeping Samaya with the Lama, the Sangha instead engages in this kind of non-virtuous conduct, creating this kind of cancer. The reason why this is such a heinous crime is because of what is lost. Where else in samsara can we find such great benefit as from the Sangha or spiritual community? Where else will such help and support come than from the Lama's extended body, this pure activity in the world? So, because something very pure and very precious has been harmed, the weight of the crime is very great. I particularly have a strong dislike for gossip and slander. I have seen generally in religious communities what kind of harm it can do. All of us have seen, even in the ordinary context, in this day and age, gossip and slander have gotten to be so stylish and so outrageously prevalent and hip that we don't even seem to mind closing down our government so we can do it. We don't seem to mind paying any price, including completely disrupting the responsibility even between people in office and the people they serve. Not to say any of these things that are said aren't right, but it's the flavor of this kind of gossip. It's just become such a thing, such a fad. In other religious communities as well as in Buddhist communities, it's a general religious phenomena. But there is always gossip and slander. It seems as though if some people think a teacher is pure, other people have to knock that teacher down. Or if some people think a particular faith is pure, other people have to gossip about it. Why does it have to be that way? As far as I am concerned, if you bring gossip or slander into this community, which is the Lama's body here, being the Lama, I take it very personally. If you bring gossip or slander into this community, you are wrong. Wrong because you brought it. Even if the story you're telling is right, you are wrong. Because what we are doing here by creating gossip and slander is to create harm to the body of the Sangha. And there is a breakage of Samaya. We have not upheld the three objects of refuge. Now, of course, if there is ever a problem of misconduct on the part of any religious leader or anything like that, we hope that those who are engaged in misconduct will turn to their teachers and receive spiritual guidance. But the antidote to that is support and compassion. The antidote to that is not the hatred, disease, and sickness of gossip and slander that only harms the body and creates a cancer in the Dharma community. So part of the Samaya between students and teachers, and I'll tell you that this is, if I could legislate that it would be 100 times as strong here, I would, and I do. This is one thing then that I ask of you directly, any of you who are truly committed to being my students. You must cut out gossip and slander from your life immediately, whatever it takes. Purify that non-virtue. Stop now. You help no one and you harm yourself. Brings nothing but unhappiness. Your business is your virtue. My business is my virtue and your virtue. But as a teacher, My responsibility to you is to constantly check my activity. What is my motivation? Because regarding the relationship between student and teacher, it's like shooting for the moon on both sides. On both sides. Both regarding the student's Samaya and the teacher's Samaya. It's equally so, on both sides. Shooting for the moon is like this. If you are even a half degree, a quarter degree off on your aim, that is to say, your virtue, your intention, here on earth, by the time you get to the moon, you'll be miles and miles and miles off. So it's constantly each of our responsibilities to check our own poisons. To increase our poisons by playing in the playpen of the delight in others' poisons doesn't help. Doesn't increase our virtue at all. And it harms the body of the Lama, which is the Sangha. Now, there is also an inner level of refuge that is very fundamental in the Vajrayana tradition of Buddhism. And again, here is the inner representation of the Lama displayed in this inner level of refuge. There is the Lama, the Yidam or meditational deity. Lama Yidam. Chondro. It's been a long retreat, guys. The Chondro, which is the Dakini. And we also have the meditational deities. So these are elements of practice in the Tantric tradition. And these are considered inner levels of refuge also. When we practice deeper in the Tantric tradition, we practice 3 different kinds of root practices. Those 3 practices are Lama, Yidam, and Chondro. We have one main Lama practice, such as the practice of Guru Rinpoche in whatever form. It might be a wrathful form, it may be a peaceful form, but there is some form that we practice Guru Rinpoche. We practice the meditational deity, and there are many meditational deities. There is Chenrezig, the tutelary deity of Tibet. There's Amitabha, the Buddha who, through his great compassion, has given us the opportunity by which, if we simply practice and honor his name throughout the course of our lives, and even if we have very little realization, through the force of his practice and compassion, simply by remembering his name, it is said, at the time of our death, we will surely be reborn in Dewachen. So there's that incredible meditational deity. And then we think about, let's see, who else? Manjushri. Manjushri with his flaming sword. Is he a martial arts expert? No, that's a flaming sword, is the sword of wisdom. Cuts through ignorance, cuts through the darkness of ignorance. Then we think about Amitayus, the Buddha of long life. Amitayus holds within his hand the long life vase, symbolic of the accomplishment of the deathless state. Look around you. See the pictures of all the different meditational deities. Not all of them are in this room. There are uncountable different images and different variations on each image. There's Tara, there's Dorji Pagmo, all different kinds of images. These are all practices that are associated with inner or tantric practice. Each one of those meditational deities holds some sort of ritual object in their hands, and they are postured in certain ways. One will sit in the full lotus position, the other will sit in the kingly posture with one leg extended. Vajrasattva, for instance, often is seen sitting in a kingly posture, not always, but sometimes he is. And in that kingly posture, he holds the Vajra to his heart and the bell to his waist. Each of those body images, from the ritual objects that are held in the hand to the ritual ornaments that are worn, ritual ornaments being necklaces and bracelets, or the more wrathful ornament like a mala of skulls, which isn't really what I would wear out, but it's considered a ritual ornament. Or tiger skin. I have a fake fur, that's as far as I can go. So, these ritual things, what are they? What meaning do they have? They actually demonstrate enlightened qualities. Each and every one of them, each posture, each ornament, each hand implement represents enlightened qualities. So that is the second Samaya, or responsibility, that the student has. Rather, the second set of responsibility the student has, which is the inner set of responsibility, and that is to honor the relationship with the Lama and to celebrate, to understand, to practice the relationship with Guru Rinpoche, with the Lama. Then secondarily, to give rise to enlightened qualities. This is a goal that each and every student has to set for themselves. Unfortunately, we kind of miss that point. We kind of think it's okay to do the practice by rote. And this is a mistake in the Samaya, or commitment, with the student, with the teacher. The student will think, okay, all right, now I have this external Samaya, or commitment, with the teacher. I understand that. Now I'm trying to practice the internal, or more subtle Samaya with the teacher. So, yes, I honor the Lama. I have taken the Lama as my own. I practice Guru Rinpoche. I learned about Guru Rinpoche. All right, I've done that. So now I have to keep the Samaya of giving rise to enlightened qualities, as in with the display of the yidams, or meditational deities. So that means, and this is how most students interpret this, that means that I have to do yidam practice, period. That means that I have to say some mantra, kind of like, so if I say Om Mani Padme Hung, a whole mala of Om Mani Padme Hung, then I guess technically I'm fulfilling my commitment to practice a yidam, or meditational deity. Technically, I'm fulfilling my commitment to generate these mind qualities that the yidams, or meditational deities, are displays of. Well, okay. Technically, you have done that thing, but have you kept Samaya? No, no. That level of Samaya would be like if the teacher came to teach you and they just kind of ripped off a teaching. Sort of like, we have a liturgical calendar, we have 52 Sundays, we have 52 different speeches. See you again next January, what's today's date? 19th. So next January 19th, you'll hear the same thing. That's not a very deep commitment. That's a memorization of 52 speeches. See the blue aura, give the blue speech. Kind of like that. And that's not the level of commitment that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the kind of commitment that the Lama has when they assess the body of the Sangha, see to the individual needs, and try to use their innate wisdom or accomplishment from the past in order to render to each and every student exactly what they need to hear. And try to speak to them directly, try to touch their hearts, and never to be satisfied until we see them all cross into liberation. That's a much deeper commitment. So likewise, when the student wishes to fulfill their commitment to the teacher, is it just, oh, I've got to say 100 or one mala's representation, numbers of Om Mani Padme Hung. Is that what that commitment is? That would be about as weak as see the blue aura, give the blue mantra. See the blue aura, give the blue speech in this case. Doesn't work. That's not it. That's not the same thing. Each and every student has to take some kind of deeper heart samaya to accomplish the enlightened qualities, the mind qualities of the meditational deities. That's the samaya, that's the responsibility. Implied in that are many things. For instance, self-honesty is implied in that. It is not appropriate for the student to merely come to the teaching like a dead thing, follow the instruction by rote like a dead thing, go home and be satisfied with doing just this dead thing. This is not the commitment. The commitment is much more profound than that. The student must be willing to examine their own qualities as samsaric beings. That means being willing to examine faults. That means being willing to examine them without self-hatred, without heavy, ugly guilt and self-judgment, but as an act of love and practice and heart samaya with one's guru. The guru and student being friends in this. The guru or the lama being the student's spiritual friend. This is a partnership. Like a parent or a mother, a loving mother, the teacher will provide the necessary guidance. Mother never judges her child because the child dropped a spoon from the high chair or spilled their milk, at least not a good mother. Neither does the lama judge the child when the student makes mistakes. Doesn't like that at all. There is a mutual support going on there. But the student must uphold their part of the deal. And that part of the deal, their part of the deal is to give rise to these pure mind qualities. So these pure mind qualities then have to be learned. Our own samsaric qualities now, which are mixed. There is some virtue and some non-virtue. That's how it is until we learn how to accomplish virtue. They have to be examined and sorted, and renunciation has to occur. This is the commitment between the student and the teacher, the heart samaya. If the student is not examining themselves and in a heartfelt and genuine way, striving to accomplish virtuous qualities, striving to increase their qualities until they are able to display in these enlightened mind qualities that the yidams, or meditational deities, accomplish or display. If the student has no commitment to that and does not accomplish that, then the samaya between the student and teacher is fairly weak and fairly superficial. And there isn't really the heart samaya that there needs to be. The student's responsibility then is to see the fault of cyclic existence, just as in the beginning teachings, just the way I've taught over and over again. And examining the faults of cyclic existence, the student has to see that there is an end to suffering, and that end to suffering is enlightenment. And to take a hold of themselves, to begin to develop that spiritual discrimination within themselves, to give rise to enlightened potential, to give rise to enlightened qualities. This is the student's real job, self-examination and growth. We make the mistake of thinking it's the teacher's responsibility to goad us into growth, force us into growth, seduce us into growth, talk us into growth. But it's not. It's our responsibility, each and every one of us. ultimately, we live and die alone. No one can force us to live virtuously other than ourselves. No one can force us to die one way or another. No one can prevent us from dying, and no one can die with us and travel hand in hand. But even while this is true, there is one aspect or one way in which this is not true, and that is through the mystical Samaya between student and teacher. There is support, there is help, there is benefit. There is an ongoing, long-lasting, precious relationship, a commitment, a Samaya that lasts life after life after life, born of love, resulting in love, born of the mind of enlightenment, resulting in enlightenment. That is the depth of that commitment and the true support that we have here in the world. And now, regarding this inner level of commitment, there is the third of the inner levels of commitment, and that is concerning, now we've already covered Lama, Yidam, and now there's the Chondro, or Dakini. In Vajrayana, the Chondro, or Dakini, represents the Buddha's compassionate, enlightened activity in the world. So they are the activity aspect of the Buddha. Of course, the Lama's commitment to the student is to provide a way by which this enlightened activity can occur in the world. But the student's commitment to the Lama is that the student, therefore, will look to accomplish the Buddha's activity in the world. What is the Buddha's activity in the world? It is bodhicitta, or the great compassion. As much a part of enlightenment as the sun's rays are part of the sun. Just as the sun's rays are all pervasive and they go forth in all directions. The traditional phrase is going forth in 10 directions, meaning going forth in all directions. Just as the sun's rays go forth in all directions, concerning the appearance of enlightenment in the world, or concerning the appearance of enlightened activity in the world, the display of that will always be the bodhicitta, or the compassion, like the sun's rays. If there is the sun, there are the sun's rays. If enlightenment is in the world, there is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is like the first movement, the first breath. The initial, forgive me for waxing romantic, but that's my nature, the initial exhalation of the primordial ground of being that is our nature. That is the great bodhicitta, the great compassion. And so the student's responsibility then becomes to accomplish the great compassion, to give rise to the bodhicitta. Now, many students make the mistake of practicing that superficially as well. And that is a mistake, really. Because there is nothing more profound, more gorgeous, more resplendent than the bodhicitta. It is the heart essence, the heart drop of all the bodhisattvas who are alive in the world and all who intend to return. So it is our responsibility to accomplish the bodhicitta, and if we do so superficially, it will be by wearing the Dharma clothes, walking the Dharma walk, talking the Dharma talk, but not changing in our hearts. You know? Talking a good talk about love. Talking a lot of talk about compassion, but not doing anything. And so here again, self-honesty has to occur. We're doing a lot of talk about the great compassion, about the great bodhicitta, But I ask you, how many minutes a day? How many hours a day? How many weeks per year? How much time, real time, do we spend in compassionate concerns, compassionate activities? And even in just ordinary human kindness toward others. There are two aspects of the bodhicitta that we can practice easily, and we have a commitment to both. Ordinary bodhicitta, which is the kind of basic, fundamental kindness and generosity that we see in the world, with the potential for benefiting the world as it is now, today, like feed the hungry, support the poor, that kind of thing. And there is the ultimate bodhicitta, which is the practice and accomplishment of Dharma in order to achieve realization for the sake of sentient beings, and to provide other sentient beings this Dharma also, that is, to attain realization, to return for their sake, and teach them Dharma and help them to accomplish liberation. These are the two kinds of bodhicitta. And the student's Samaya, or commitment to the teacher, must be to return the teacher's favor of great compassion or great kindness that the teacher has displayed by returning for their sake, in order to teach them, in order to guide them to liberation. The student's responsibility is to practice enlightened activity on a much deeper level. It's called love. It's called simple human kindness, doing what we can to make the world a better place today, trying to reach out to and help those in need who are hungry or thirsty, not only wishing for truth, but even needing food. Engaging in compassionate activity. And not only that, but on a deeper level, the student's responsibility is to understand the teacher's ultimate goal. What is, therefore, the teacher's compassionate intention that the student must fulfill? The compassionate intention, the compassionate mind of the great bodhisattvas, the great teachers, is to liberate all sentient beings from suffering, regardless of whether that sentient being is the smallest cockroach or the greatest king. Without regard to status, without regard to appearances, such as the differences in religions, nationalities, races, even species. The Lama's compassionate intention is simply to empty samsara from its depths, to, with a huge net of loving concern and loving kindness and compassionate activity, scoop out the depths of samsara, even the lowest realms, and liberate all sentient beings from suffering. This is the Lama's concern. This is the basis of the Lama's activity. This is the basis of the Bodhisattva being in the world. This is the point. This kind of unconditional, extraordinary love. And so, if the student is to keep proper Samaya with their teacher, they too must learn to love like that. In accepting the student-teacher commitment, yes, you should be happy that you found your teacher. Yes, you'd be happy now it's cool, you're going to be a Buddhist and everything. But there's a lot more to it than that. Now you should be happy that you don't get to be prejudiced anymore. Now you should get to be happy that you don't get to be selfish anymore. Now you should get to be happy that you don't get to harm others anymore. Because in order to keep that real Samaya with the teacher, we have to also engage in the Buddha's miraculous, compassionate activity in the world. Because of the inner refuges, Lama, Yidam, and Chondro. These three are also indications of how the student should practice, how they should keep their commitment, and what that relationship actually consists of. So as students then, to recap, we must honor the Buddha as the teacher and the source of enlightened activity, the Buddha nature, the historical Buddha as well, the Dharma as the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha's speech, the Buddha's method, and the Sangha as the body. So we are keeping our commitment to honor these refuges. And then as students who are taking up a heart Samaya with their teacher, a heart Samaya, therefore, with their own true face, which, as we enter the deepest commitment, we understand is the truth, in that the nature of the Lama and the nature of the student are inseparable. Knowing one is to know the other. I cannot find a place in my mind where I am separate from you. So we are entering into this deep Samaya, and now we find we must keep our commitment to practice Lama. We must keep our commitment to practice Yidam, or meditational deities, giving rise to those enlightened qualities. And we must keep our commitment to practice the Dakini and to give rise to enlightened activities in the world. To enlightened activities and to compassionate concern in the world. We must honor the Dharma protectors as well, and in the relationship with our teacher. One of the ways that we can do that is to purify our own activity to the extent that obstacles do not arise. To keep our conduct, our mental, physical, and speech activity as pure as possible. To develop our own good qualities, so that even as obstacles naturally arise in samsara, which they do, it's kind of like watching a sock go around in a dryer. Something's always up. Even though obstacles will naturally arise in samsara, it is our commitment to protect ourselves and one another through creating this great mandala of virtuous activity and virtuous accomplishment. One way that we've chosen to do that here in this Sangha is that we have a 24-hour-a-day prayer vigil that's been going on for, was it 11 years? 12 in April. 12 years unbroken. Unbroken, 24 hours a day. Our students here take 2-hour shifts. And that's because my primary intention, I actually never meant to start a Buddhist temple. My teacher found me, and that's how that happened. My original goal was to create a center for prayer for the world near the nation's capital, 24 hours a day, and try to enlist as many people in that activity as possible. So my original impulse was compassionate activity for the sake of sentient beings. And that's how we have maintained that tradition. And we keep that tradition going, and it's very precious to us. So we have here a great mandala of compassionate activity and compassionate concern for the sake of sentient beings. This is the Lama's body in unison, performing in that way. What a pure and potent thing. And how sad if through some non-virtue of gossip and slander, or through some inappropriate activity in some regard, that were to be spoiled or ruined in some way. And so our commitment as a Sangha is to be one heart, one mind, one speech, one body, one movement, one intention, one love, expressing itself as a gift to the world. This is really the Buddha's intention for us. This is really Guru Rinpoche's miraculous intention for us. And this is the Samaya between student and teacher. To give rise to these extraordinary qualities, to accomplish this miraculous, compassionate intention, to hold to the constant movement and improvement and progress, to constantly examine oneself, testing always for our virtues to see if they are always intact. This mindfulness, this loving concern for the sake of sentient beings, this is the heart commitment, or Samaya, that one holds with the Lama. And it is a mutual thing. It is a mutual thing. Now you see here that the Lama is seated in a higher seat and has brocade things here. Brocade. And Lama's brought flowers, and the Lama's brought a glass of water, and let's see, what else does the Lama have here? Coffee. Which the Lama greatly appreciates. So you think to yourself, well, so what does that mean? Is she better than us? No. That is not the relationship between student and teacher, between Lama and disciple. Because the Buddha teaches us that all sentient beings are equal in their nature. The weight of the Buddha seed, that is your nature, and the weight of that which is my nature are the same. Inseparable. Impossible to find the place where that which I am ends and that which you are begins, because there is no line of demarcation. There's no separation, no condition. The Lama is held up higher for the purpose of the student, so that the student can discriminate between what is ordinary in the world and what is extraordinary and brings about the extraordinary result. For instance, if one person were to give you an ice cream cone and the other person were to give you Dharma, well, if it's a hot day and you're really hungry and you really like that ice cream, you might think, well, I like the ice cream. That's really pretty much appreciated right now. I like it real well. But if the other person gives you Dharma, even though you might like the ice cream, and I like ice cream, even though you might really want the ice cream because it's really hot and you really want that ice cream, Dharma can save your life. Dharma can save you life after life after life. The power and potency of the benefit of Dharma so exceeds anything that we can have in this world as to be indescribable. And you see, the teacher is thought as the condensed essence of that, the giver of that. And so therefore, it is because of the Dharma, because of the Buddha's teaching, that the teacher is put up higher, as a reminder that that teaching is precious and not ordinary. This is not a personality cult. This isn't about two people making a relationship and just kind of digging each other. That's not what it is. This Samaya commitment, Samaya of the heart, between the student and the teacher is the most profound, most intimate, most loving, most extraordinary relationship that one can enjoy. The responsibilities are also profound. but the result is peerless.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for hopefully enjoying Jetsunma's teaching as much as we enjoyed showing it to you. Just sort of a quick recap of the week. Basically, we offer Jetsunma's teachings on Wednesdays at 7:30 and Sundays at 11 a.m. The teachings, as you've probably figured out, are pre-recorded, and they are also archived on YouTube so that you can watch them at other times, or catch up if you missed something or had to leave. And the same channel that you were on to watch this one. So we also on YouTube have meditations on Saturday and Sunday morning at 10, and on other venues, I guess you'd say, each day we have a practice, which is a food offering ceremony called a soak, and those are on Zoom, and they are Monday through Friday at 5:30, Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 2. We have Medicine Buddha on Facebook Live, a very short, condensed Medicine Buddha that is in English and is a wonderful place to bring your requests for prayers for those of your friends, family, yourself, who you feel need it. There's a lot of people in need of prayers right now. World situations, whatever is moving you at the moment. They are at 7 p.m. on Facebook. And everyone is most welcome to all of these, really. The Beginning Buddhist series that's on YouTube and Facebook on Sundays at 5, taught by Atira Zioli, will resume later this year. Probably late summer, but she will be back. No worries. And so we hope that all of these which are open to you, are helpful. We're also we offer teachings at various times. Some will be coming up by Khenpo Pam, and they will all be announced on our KPC website, tara.org. So we hope you can join us there. If you're moved to make an offering to Jetsunma on the occasion of receiving the teaching, that's always a great thing to do, and you can do so. It's in the chat at her PayPal address, jetsumagift@gmail.com. It's the last thing there on the chat. If you have any questions at all ever, just send them to kpc@tara.org, and they'll get funneled to the person who can probably find an answer for you and get back to you. We want to be in touch, and we welcome your feedback, and we welcome your presence. Come and visit us when you can. The outdoors is open dawn to dusk every day, and it's beautiful here right now. There are stupas, there are statues, there are meditation gardens, there are just regular gardens, and there are animals, farm animals that you can pet and love up, because they want to pet and love up you too. And so there's lots of ways that you can engage here and relax and meditate and find some peace in a world that doesn't have a lot of it right now. So please, we welcome you anytime. As soon as the indoors is open, we will let you know, and we hope that will be very soon. So stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, we love you.